How did you end up? Well, I know that you're the type of person, and you know God's behind it to connect people. But how did you assume that role? Like, how did that happen, or you first started putting people together, or whatever?
It was just, I think you don't have to like do something. I think it takes a heart. I think a person with a heart, and you have to want to do something. But I don't think it's not as much as God sends you to do stuff. I think there's people that God sends to do things, and I honestly think, and I did not want to let people down, and I wanted to try to help as many as I could. So the
Mm,
first thing I started doing was calling out. I started calling everybody I could. First, it started with food, so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to feed everybody. So on like that, I think it was like the third day that the bear closet actually started giving us food, saying we can't fix this food. It's up here in the freezer and it's going to go bad, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
fix it. Let's feed people. Let's feed people. Let's get this started so we can get rid of this meat so we don't lose it. So that's basically what
mm,
started. I had just come back to the church a week, like I said, a week before, and this flood happens.
Mm-hmm.
mm.
Not even a week later, and then I was right at the right place, and then they started bringing food down. I started preparing all that, and we was doing stuff outside. We had people, like with the grill and stuff like that. So we was doing hamburger and hot dogs, and we was doing food, all that stuff. So we were feeding about 1,000 people a day
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember
for a
that. That's
while,
Wow.
insane.
and then
It was a lot
and
of
then
people.
after we got kind of through the food for the first week, maybe that's when I started saying, okay, we need stuff for these people. We need
Hmm.
supplies. And then I started reaching out, after I'd done the food thing, and I thought, we're running out of food. I said, I've got to do something. So I went to Statesville because I knew I couldn't do anything really here in Marion. I
Right.
knew that I needed to go out because people in Marion was hurting. There's grocery stores that was closed down because we was flooded. So how are they going to give me food when they don't have food themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So I said, okay, guys, I've got to take a break. I think it was like 2 weeks straight in here feeding people and doing stuff to where my body was just like almost broke down.
Yeah, you were here
And I
every
couldn't go
day.
home and stay because we had no power.
Mm-hmm.
We had our basement flooded. So my husband's got COPD real bad and I have asthma. So it's like, I can't breathe because I have no air. It's hot.
Mm-hmm.
He can't breathe because of the mold and the stuff that's growing in the basement because of his
Mm.
COPD. So I'm like, we got to have showers and stuff because we had washed off so much for the first 2 weeks with bottles of water that I really wanted to have a shower. And I
Yeah.
said, let's go and stay. I don't care, even though my check hadn't come in. I said, I don't care if we got money or not. We'll just go and we'll just overdraft. We'll overdraft and we'll get us two hotel rooms, or a hotel room staying for 2 days. So, and we went there. And when we went there, we was actually take showers and we could actually see TV for the first time. But when we seen TV, that's when we seen, Asheville, and because that was within that 2 weeks or several days. It had to have been 2 weeks.
All my timelines have run so
I
together
know,
for
Yeah,
honey.
these two.
I
it's
tried to
that
think of
So
it
memory
too.
hole thing
it's
that they're
hard.
talking about.
Yeah,
But
probably
Um,
about that long, I would think.
we did that. Then I thought, well, where am I going to get the food? But I did do this before I left Buried. I did get in touch with Samir, which is the one that owns a lot of the gas stations.
Mm-hmm.
Samir's.
oh, the Samira's gas
Yeah,
stations.
I'm a friend with him on Facebook, and he was able to give me $250 out of the cash register to buy the food that I needed. And I took that with me to Statesville. And
Hmm.
I thought, since I don't have the extra food, we've went through everything the bear closet and everything the church had, or whatever else we had, I could get a bunch of hot dogs and we could fix hot dogs if we had to, or whatever I could buy. So I got to Statesville and I called Statesville there, and I wanted a Sam's Club. So they didn't have one in Statesville, they had one in Hickory. Well, I called Hickory and they said, we don't have any more hot dogs. And I was like, okay, so what am I going to do now? So I told David, I said, well, before we go home, I'll call Food Line real quick. And I said, I'll see if they got hot dogs. And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, can you give me a discount on them or help me in any way? Because we're with the church, and we're trying to feed people, and I don't have the funds. I only have $250 that was donated. And I said, can I please get some kind of donation maybe or something off? And they're like, no, we can't do that
Hmm.
because everybody I first called said we can't do that because we give it to a corporation. We go
Right.
through
Yeah.
corporate.
Yeah.
And it was everybody telling me that.
Red tape and everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
everywhere, even from Sam's Club and from Food Lines and from everywhere. We go, everything's a donation. I called so many people, and it's like, we've already went, you have to go through corporate. And I'm like, people, there is a need here. Can't you give me 5-10% off a Food Line bill or
Right.
10%?
Something.
So I go in there, and I have my money. That money he gave me, so I get as many hot dogs as I can. I get as much packs of bologna so we could fry some bologna and make bologna sandwiches. Then I went and got a whole ham that they had in the deli, and I had it sliced up so I could make a bunch of sandwiches. So it's just all that stuff. I bet you, I don't know how many packs of hot dogs I had. It was crazy. And then I come back with it, and I'm ready to do all that. Before I could get in the car, I get a phone call. And I'm like, hello? And he's like, Vivian Allen? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, are you the Vivian Allen that put on Facebook that you needed food? And I'm like, yeah. And I thought, thank you, Jesus, because I knew he had sent that man to call.
Wow.
Because I didn't know who he was. And I'd put it on my Facebook, and how would he hear it? And it was Tom Bean. He was with the North Carolina Baptist churches that goes out and helps flood relief victims. So apparently somebody called him because he's from Raleigh and let them know about, my situation to where I needed food to feed people. So they had set up a North Carolina Baptist mission at Grace Community Church.
Mm-hmm.
And he
right
said,
down here.
yeah. So he said, I can get you as much food as you want, as much as you need, as long as you want it. And I said, what? And he said, yeah. I said, well, we've been feeding 1,000 people. And he said, that ain't no problem.
Wow.
He said, you need 1,000 meals a day? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, if you need 1,000 meals a day, he said, we can run them as long as you want. You just come here. We'll have them prepared for you. You pick up those big totes of food stuff and you bring them to your church and you feed your people. All you have to do is come get them. So that's when we took the church bus and we went every day to try to feed people. We'd done that for a while. And then eventually the Baptist people had to leave too because the other hurricane was hitting Florida.
Yeah. Milton. Yeah.
So they were going out. So I called that day and I'm like, because they had decided to go out, but somebody had forgotten to call me and let me know. So that day I had went to pick up and they're like, nobody there except for, stuff they're packing up. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, do you know where my food is? And they're like, honey, there's no more food things left. And I'm like, nobody called. And I'm like, what happened? That's when they told me they had moved out, but they're still, some people's there still packing up. So the guys that I was there with had all this extra food that they were that was pre-cooked, but they hadn't cooked yet. So they're like, we're going to give you this. So they gave me more food that I could put in the freezer here, in the refrigerator, the big bags of the chicken and the,
that's
where all
the
the steak.
stuff came from.
Yeah. And then I brought all
I got
that
a pork
back.
shoulder, I think, from that at home.
Yeah. And then I brought it back here and I put it in the refrigerators. And then we started fixing off of that. But then I seen something on TV. And it was Mercy Chefs. And I thought, they're in Asheville. They're chefs from all over the world. All over America, pretty much. That's chefs that's getting together. And somebody's producing this thing. And they're getting all this food from U.S. Foods and places like that. Food distributors, Smithfield, everybody. And they're cooking for everybody in Asheville. So I call, and I probably get sent over to, I don't know, New Jersey or something. So I tell her the situation, and I said, we really need food. I said, is there any way you can help me? And she got me, she said, well, I'm going to put your information down, and she said, I'll have somebody get back with you. So the very next day, I get a phone call from Lisa with Mercy Chefs in Asheville. She's one of the main person that runs that out there. And honey, she was a godsend because that's the one that would give me, they had a whole 18-wheeler full of pork. So that's the one I could go and get all this pork from. And then we would take it and we'd bring it here and we'd fill up all the freezers and we'd try to fill up all the people that was volunteering that needed food, that their freezers and refrigerators had left. I wanted to feed everybody as much as I could. So anybody that come, I would give meats and meats and meats and meats
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Whoever needed it, whoever was in need. I mean, I didn't care what the reason was. That we have food, you need it, here it is.
Mhm.
Take it. And then when I done that, it was just like sometimes it was every day I was going back and getting more because I had more people in need that would come in and say, "Do you have any meats?"
Mhm.
So I helped with that for a long time, even letting people have it that other people knew. And then we even produced enough food to give to another lady down here in McDowell County that feeds people as well.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So I forget what her name is.
Trisha or something.
Yeah, something
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
But I gave all the food and stuff, the pork to her. Well, it was given to her, but all of it come from Lisa giving it to me to do as I see fit with it because she knew I wanted to feed people. And she said, "Vivian, take this food and feed them how you see fit, whatever you think." And that's exactly what I did. So I cooked as much and I give as much as I could get. I went to Bakersville because I knew my mom had lost her stuff in her freezers. She had 2 big freezers and she had a refrigerator. So I went up and I filled one of her freezers full of pork. But I had enough to still bring down here, fill up our freezers, and they give a lot of other people meat.
Yeah, there's tons of people that came through that got food,
And then
tons.
Well, even after that, after the pork, the 18-wheeler pork, which I took all of that for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I filled up everybody's freezers as much as I could. Then she says, "Vivian, are you coming back? I got you some more food." She said, "I got you some chicken." So go out there, and here she's giving me chicken. She's getting pre-cooked chicken and everything. That way we can go ahead and everything. I mean, canned foods, breads and canned, just big old canned foods. And so here I am, I start thinking, well, I want to start feeding people. So we're going to start, we was feeding people anyway, but we're going to start an actual Thursday here starting this week. I'll be cooking again to feed the homeless on Thursday. And I was going to do it more than Thursday, but the Bear Closet that we partner with right here, they said that they cook on Wednesdays. So there's another group here that cooks in McDowell County on Tuesdays and another one on Mondays. And one on Fridays. So the only days that really needs to be people fed is on Thursdays, and that's what I'm going to do here.
Oh, that's great.
But I'm not servicing just the people that is homeless. I'm servicing anybody else. So if you have a need and you feel like you don't want to cook that night, or you feel like you want some company, or maybe you want to talk to somebody, because that's what we need. We need to reach out and we need to talk to people and we need to feed people and we need to fellowship. That's the biggest thing right now.
That's
with
a community,
this. Yeah. But I know people passed away and it's really, really bad. And I feel so sorry for families. But when this happened, it's like our whole life's changed. Yeah. Because it was like so weird, because when this happened and the floods come and you couldn't talk to anybody, it was like an apocalypse.
Yeah. It's powerlessness. That's what it was.
That's what it was.
You saw all these people. I still haven't done a video describing what I seen, because I went out to get our food the next day and everything. I have talked about the guys out there with chainsaws right away, clearing the roads, doing what they could do and everything like that. But it was just so eerie that people had nowhere to go to get food, to use the phone, nothing. So they would all just gather. Well, even before there was one gas station, they would just like gather in a Dollar General parking lot, parked on top of each other. I mean, it'd be a couple hundred people.
Well, honey, that's the way I was when
that
we
was
went
just for them to figure out what's going on. Maybe these people know what's going on. So they would basically have a meeting in the parking lot. But nobody knew anything. No. That was the thing.
But I mean, everybody parking at the gas stations, and I'm like, "Are we going to get gas, David? What are we supposed to do? Is that gas machine? The gas pump's working? They wasn't working.
No, I sat and waited for one. There was no gas. Like it was,